Maya Okonkwo crouched behind crumbling concrete as a machine gun fired tore chunks from the wall above her head. 12 Navy SEALs pinned down in the compound below, 3 already bleeding out. Radio chatter screaming for air support that wouldn't arrive for 20 minutes. 20 minutes they didn't have. She looked at the M110 rifle in her hands, then at Senior Chief Vance barking desperate orders through the chaos. She had no idea what she could do with this weapon. None of them did. For 18 months, she had hidden it, buried it, pretended to be just another corpsman. But if she didn't reveal herself now, every man down there would die, including Chun, whose ragged breathing she could hear over the comms, calling her name. But that moment was still 3 days away. Right now, Maya stood in the briefing room at Forward Operating Base Sharina, watching Senior Chief Marcus Vance tap the digital map with his weathered finger. The target compound glowed red on the screen behind him. High-value target, Vance said, his voice carrying the gravel of 16 years in the teams. Intel says he's coordinating attacks across 3 provinces. We go in fast, we go in quiet. We extract him before his security even knows we're there. Maya studied the compound layout from her position at the back of the room. The other 11 SEALs leaned forward, absorbed in the tactical details. She saw what they missed. The sight lines, the elevated positions, the perfect killing fields that surrounded the target building. Senior Chief, Maya said, those rooftops on the east side, if they have over what? Vance cut her off without looking back. Medical concerns only, Petty Officer Okonkwo. Leave the tactical assessment to the operators. The dismissal landed like a slap. Petty Officer Second Class Chun glanced at her from his seat in the second row, sympathy flickering across his face before he turned back to the briefing. Maya's jaw tightened. She had seen this compound design before. In Mosul, in Ramadi, places where Overwatch positions meant the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. But she said nothing, because that knowledge came from a life she no longer claimed, from skills she had spent 5 years pretending she didn't possess. The briefing continued. Insertion at 0200. Air assets on standby. QRF spinning up at Bagram. Vance assigned positions with crisp efficiency. Chun and Rodriguez on point. Matthews and Torres on the target. Vance himself commanding from center position. Okonkwo, Vance said, finally acknowledging her. You'll be rear security with the supplies. Standard loadout. If anyone needs patching, you move when I tell you to move. Maya nodded. Yes, Senior Chief. After the briefing broke, Chin caught up with her in the corridor outside. The afternoon sun hammered down on the plywood buildings that made up the FOB. Heat shimmered off the HESCO barriers in waves. He doesn't mean it personally, Chin said. He's just old school. Maya adjusted her medical ruck on her shoulder. Being old school doesn't excuse being blind, Chun. Those rooftops are textbook Overwatch positions. Chin studied her face. You see things different than most corpsmen. I pay attention. That's all. No, Chin said slowly. It's more than that. I've worked with a lot of docs. You move different. Think different. He paused. Where do you serve before the Navy? Maya felt the familiar tightness in her chest. The conversation she had navigated 100 times. Army. Medical company. Nothing special. The lie came smooth now. 5 years of practice had worn it smooth as river stones. She didn't need to know about Ranger School, about the sniper course she had aced, about the instructor who had called her a natural, who had said she had the best fundamentals he had seen in 20 years. Chin seemed to accept it, or at least stopped pushing. They walked in silence, past the motor pool where Humvees sat baking in the sun. Maya could hear the distant thump of helicopters conducting patterns over the valley. Before we head into this thing, Chin said, I just want you to know, you're good at what you do. Best corpsman I've worked with. Vance will see it eventually. Maya managed a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Appreciate it. That night, in the small plywood cube that served as her quarters, Maya sat on her bunk and pulled out the photo she kept hidden in her assault pack. The image showed her in army fatigues, standing beside a man with steel gray hair and a shooter's squint. Master Sergeant Kowalski, her sniper instructor, the man who had believed in her when everyone else said women couldn't shoot like that, couldn't handle the pressure, couldn't make the cut. She had proved them all wrong. Top of her class, qualified expert on every weapon system. The Army had invested hundreds of thousands of dollars training her to kill at 1,000 meters. Then came Kandahar, the mission that had ended everything. The friendly fire incident that haunted her sleep. The investigation that had cleared her but left her hollow. The decision to walk away from it all and start over as someone who saved lives instead of taking them. Maya tucked the photo away and checked her medical gear for the third time. Tourniquets, hemostatic gauze, chest seals, morphine, everything she needed to keep the team alive when things went wrong. Because things always went wrong. Before you continue with this story, drop a comment and let us know what state you're watching from. Maybe you have witnessed similar acts of courage where you are from, or know someone who served in special operations. She thought about the compound layout, about those rooftops Vance had dismissed, about the certainty in her gut that they were walking into something bigger than the intelligence suggested. Maya had learned to trust that instinct. It had kept her alive through 2 deployments, countless firefights, situations where being right meant survival and being wrong meant a folded flag and a closed casket. But she couldn't say any of that, couldn't explain how she knew, because explaining meant revealing who she had been, what she had done, the skills she had buried so deep that sometimes she almost forgot they existed. The next morning came too fast. 0 dark 30 wake up. Gear check at 0-100. Weapons hot at 0-130. Maya loaded her standard corpsman loadout. M4 carbine. Sidearm. Medical supplies that weighed more than most SEAL combat loads. And one item she always carried but never mentioned. A small rangefinder tucked in her pocket. A habit from the old days. Useless now, or so she told herself. The team loaded into the MRAPs as the stars wheeled overhead. Maya took her position in the rear vehicle, surrounded by extra ammunition and supplies. Through the armored window, she watched the Hindu Kush mountains rise black against the night sky. Vance's voice crackled over the radio. All elements, communications check. The team sounded off one by one. Maya waited for her turn. Doc 1 up, she said, using her call sign. Vance acknowledged, and the convoy rolled out into the darkness. The mission had begun. In 3 days, Maya would make a choice that would change everything. But right now, she was just a corpsman heading into another operation. Invisible, underestimated, exactly where she needed to be to stay hidden. The mountains swallowed them whole. The convoy wound through mountain passes where the road clung to cliffs like a prayer. Maya watched the landscape roll past through night vision, every rock and shadow rendered in green phosphorescence. She had traveled these roads before, in another life, with a different uniform and a different purpose. The memory came unbidden. Fort Benning, Georgia. For years ago, the day she had walked into the sniper school, building knowing she was the only woman in a class of 32. The looks, the whispers, the absolute certainty from every man there that she would wash out by day 3. Master Sergeant Kowalski had stood at the front of the classroom, his eyes scanning the students with the dispassionate assessment of a man who had seen 1,000 candidates come and go. When his gaze landed on Maya, it didn't linger, didn't judge, simply moved on. That had been the first surprise. The second came during the initial range qualification. Maya had grown up in rural Alabama, learned to shoot cans off fence posts before she learned algebra. Her father, a Vietnam veteran, had taught her that a rifle was a tool. Respect it, understand it, master it. She had done all 3. When she put 5 rounds through the same hole at 300 meters, the whispers changed. When she outshot everyone in her class during the stalking exercise, they stopped entirely. By week 3, Master Sergeant Kowalski pulled her aside after a training evolution. You're not just good, Okonkwo, he had said. You're exceptional. You have the discipline, the patience, the instinct. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. She hadn't. She had graduated top of her class, earned her TAP, became the thing she had dreamed about since she was 12 years old, lying in Alabama grass with her father, learning to read the wind. Then came Kandahar. The MRAP hit a pothole and jolted Maya back to the present. She checked her medical gear again, a ritual that kept her hands busy and her mind quiet. Chin sat across from her in the troop compartment, his eyes closed but his breathing too shallow for sleep. "You good?" Maya asked quietly. Chin opened one eye, just running through sequences. "This target has me wound tight." Maya understood. The intelligence brief had been sparse. Too sparse. High-value target with unknown security force in a compound that offered every tactical advantage to defenders. It felt wrong. "What's your read on it?" Chin asked. Maya considered her words carefully. "I think we're walking into something bigger than they're telling us." Chin nodded slowly. "Yeah, I get that feeling too." He paused, then added, "You ever feel like you're not in the right place? Like you should be doing something else?" The question landed too close to the truth. Maya kept her voice neutral. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. You just seem like you've got more in you than patching bullet holes." "No offense. None taken." Maya forced a smile. "But patching bullet holes is important work." "Sure, but so is preventing them." Before Maya could respond, Vance's voice cut through the radio. "All elements, waypoint Alpha in 5 mics. Switch to tactical silence." The convoy fell quiet. Maya felt the familiar pre-mission tension settle over the team like a physical weight. She had felt it hundreds of times. The knowledge that in the next few hours, people might die. The responsibility of being the one who determined if they survived. They dismounted 2 kilometers from the target. The SEALs moved with the practiced efficiency of men who had done this 1,000 times. Maya fell into her assigned position at the rear, carrying the medical pack and supplies while the operators carried the violence. The terrain was brutal. Rocky hills that tore at boots and tested ankles. Maya moved carefully, quietly, her smaller frame allowing her to navigate obstacles that made the bigger SEALs struggle. She had learned in Ranger School that being underestimated was an advantage. Let them think she was struggling. Let them assume she needed help. Then prove them wrong when it mattered. Halfway to the target, Chin took point with Rodriguez. Maya watched them move, saw the way Chun scanned the terrain, his rifle always oriented toward the most likely threat. He was good, better than good. She recognized in him the same situational awareness she had been taught to cultivate as a sniper. Then she saw what Chin hadn't. A glint of metal on a ridgeline 400 meters northwest. Brief, barely there, but unmistakable to anyone who knew what to look for. They had Overwatch. The enemy knew they were coming. Maya keyed her radio. "Senior Chief, possible contact, Northwest Ridge, 400 meters. Vance's response came clipped with irritation. "Doc 1, maintain radio silence unless medical emergency." "That's an order." Maya bit back her response. The glint appeared again. Definitely metal. Definitely watching their approach. But she had been told to stay quiet, to stay in her lane, to be nothing more than the medic who patched holes and kept her mouth shut. The team continued forward, unaware. Maya's mind raced through calculations she had promised herself she would never make again. Range, wind, elevation. The ridgeline offered perfect overwatch of their entire route. If she were planning this ambush, that's exactly where she would position her shooters. But she wasn't planning ambushes anymore. She was just the corpseman, just the woman who Vance barely tolerated and the rest of the team barely noticed. The formation reached a narrow wadi that funneled them into single file. Perfect kill zone. Maya's hands tightened on her rifle. Every instinct screamed danger, but she had no proof. No way to explain how she knew without revealing what she was. Chun slowed, his head turning toward the northwest ridge. He felt it too. The wrongness. The setup. Vance pushed them forward. "We're on timeline. People. Keep moving." They descended into the wadi. Maya counted steps, measured distances, tracked angles of fire. The habits came automatically, muscle memory from years of training that had been beaten into her bones. She couldn't shut it off even when she tried. The attack didn't come. Not yet. They cleared the wadi and approached the compound. The target building sat squat and dark against the hillside, exactly as the satellite imagery had shown. 2-story structure, walled courtyard, multiple outbuildings. And those rooftops, those perfect textbook Overwatch positions that Maya had tried to warn about. Vance split the team. Chun and Rodriguez to the north entrance. Matthews and Torres to the south. Vance himself taking center position with 3 more SEALs. Maya to the rear with supplies and medical gear, positioned behind a low wall 200 meters from the action. Stay alert, Vance said over the radio. This should be quick and clean. Should be, Maya thought. But it wouldn't be. The SEALs moved into position. Maya watched them through her night vision. Small green figures against the darkness. Professional. Capable. Completely unaware of what waited for them. She checked her rifle. Standard M4 carbine. Effective range 300 meters. Adequate for close combat. Useless for the kind of precision work that would be needed when this went sideways. In her pocket, the rangefinder felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. An artifact from a past she had abandoned. A tool she had sworn never to use again. The teams breached simultaneously. Flashbangs lit up the night. Maya heard the controlled chaos of room clearing. Shouts in Pashto. Return fire. Then Chen's voice, urgent but controlled. Contact northeast. Multiple combatants were taking fire from. The explosion cut him off. Not inside the compound. Outside. From the rooftops Maya had identified. The overwatch positions Vance had dismissed. The ambush had sprung, and her team was caught in the center of the killing field. The machine gun fire came from 3 positions simultaneously. Coordinated. Professional. Exactly what Maya had feared. The rooftops erupted with muzzle flashes, pouring fire down into the compound where the SEALs had just breached. All elements, break contact, Vance shouted over the radio. Fall back to Rally Point Delta. But there was no falling back. The teams were pinned inside the compound, caught between the building they had just entered and the killing fields outside. Maya watched tracer rounds paint green lines through her night vision. Every route out was covered by interlocking fields of fire. Doc 1. Chen's voice came through strained with pain. Matthews is hit. Right leg arterial. We need you now. Maya was already moving before Vance could respond. She sprinted from her covered position toward the compound, her medical pack bouncing against her back. Bullets snapped past her head close enough to feel the displacement. She didn't think about them, didn't think about anything except getting to Matthews. She covered 200 meters in terrain that should have been impossible to cross under fire. Training took over. The same training that had taught her to move through enemy territory undetected, to control her breathing, to use every scrap of cover. Maya flowed through the chaos like water, arriving at the compound entrance where Chun and Rodriguez had Matthews pulled behind a low wall. Blood poured from Matthews's thigh in rhythmic spurts. Femoral artery. Maybe 90 seconds before he bled out. Maya dropped to her knees beside him, and her hands moved with practiced precision. Tourniquet high and tight above the wound. Twist the windlass. Lock it down. The arterial spray stopped. Matthews gasped in pain, but his eyes focused on her face. Am I good, Doc? You're good, Maya said. But we need to move you. A rocket-propelled grenade screamed overhead and detonated against the compound wall. Concrete fragments showered down on them. Chun returned fire toward the rooftops, his shots disciplined and controlled despite the chaos. Senior Chief, Chun called over the radio. We cannot hold this position. We need immediate air support, or we're going to lose people. Air support is weathered in, Vance responded. QRF is spinning up, but they're 40 mics out. We hold here, and we fight. Maya worked on Matthews, packing the wound with hemostatic gauze while bullets cracked overhead. She had done this before. Ramadi, Mosul, Kandahar. Different uniforms, different wars, same arterial blood, soaking into Afghan soil. Rodriguez provided covering fire while Maya stabilized Matthews. She started in 4-line, pushed morphine, did everything she could to keep him alive and stable. Around them, the firefight intensified. The enemy had numbers and position. The SEALs had training and determination. Neither was enough. Torres's voice came over the radio from the south entrance. We've got 3 wounded over here. Minor shrapnel, but they need attention. Maya looked at Matthews. He was stable for now, but needed surgical intervention within the hour. The others needed her too. She made the calculation every combat medic learned to make. Who lived? Who died? Who could wait? Chun, she said. Keep pressure on this wound. I need to check the others. Chun nodded and took her position beside Matthews. Maya moved in a crouch toward the south entrance, using the compound walls for cover. The enemy fire never let up. Whoever was commanding the ambush knew exactly what they were doing. She found Torres with 3 SEALs pressed against the wall. 2 had shrapnel wounds in their arms and shoulders. Painful, but not immediately life-threatening. The 3rd had taken a round through his vest plate carrier. The ceramic had stopped the bullet, but his ribs were cracked and his breathing labored. Maya triaged them quickly, bandaged the shrapnel wounds, taped the broken ribs, administered pain medication, all while the world exploded around her. Doc, you're crazy running around out here, Torres said. But we're damn glad you did. Maya didn't respond. She was watching the rooftops through a crack in the wall, counting muzzle flashes, tracking positions, 3 machine gun teams, 2 RPG positions, at least 15 riflemen. The SEALs were outnumbered 3-1 and caught in a textbook-shaped ambush. She pulled out her rangefinder without thinking. Old habits. 420 meters to the nearest machine gun position. 460 to the RPG team on the east rooftop. Wind from the northwest at approximately 8 miles per hour. Then she caught herself. What was she doing? She wasn't a sniper anymore. She was a corpsman. These calculations meant nothing without the right weapon, the right position, the right authorization. Maya shoved the rangefinder back in her pocket and keyed her radio. Senior Chief, I've got 4 wounded stable, but we need extraction. Matthews needs surgery within the hour or he loses the leg. Working on it, Vance said. His voice carried an edge Maya had never heard before. Fear. Another explosion rocked the compound. This one closer. The enemy was walking their fire toward the SEAL positions, methodically destroying cover. It was only a matter of time before someone took a direct hit. Maya moved back toward Chun and Matthews. The young SEAL's face had gone pale from blood loss despite the tourniquet. She checked his vitals. Blood pressure dropping. Pulse rapid and thready. He was sliding toward shock. She started another 4-line. Pushed fluids. Did everything her training allowed. But Matthews needed a surgeon and an operating room, not a corpsman in a compound under siege. The radio chatter became more desperate. Vance trying to coordinate with air support that couldn't fly in the weather. The QRF still 30 minutes out. Ammunition running low. Casualties mounting. Chun looked at Maya. We're in trouble, aren't we? Maya met his eyes. Yeah, we are. He nodded slowly, then said something that changed everything. I saw you measuring distances with that rangefinder. I saw how you moved across that open ground. You weren't running scared. You were running tactical. He paused. Who are you really, Maya? The question hung in the smoke-filled air between them. Maya could lie. Should lie. Keep the fiction alive that she was just a corpsman who got lucky. But Chun deserved better. They all did. Before she could answer, Vance's voice cut through the radio. All elements, they're massing for a push. Prepare to repel assault on the north wall. Maya grabbed her rifle and moved to the north entrance. Through the darkness, she could see shapes moving. Dozens of them. The enemy was done with standoff attacks. They were coming to finish it. The SEALs formed a defensive line. 12 operators and 1 corpsman against an enemy force that seemed to grow by the minute. Maya checked her magazine. 30 rounds. 2 more mags on her belt. 90 rounds total to hold off an assault. This was how it ended. Not in a hospital bed or a retirement ceremony. Here, in an Afghan compound, fighting beside men who didn't know who she really was. Chun took position beside her. Whatever happens, he said quietly. Thanks for keeping us alive this long. The enemy charged. The night exploded with gunfire, and Maya Okonkwo made a choice she had sworn she would never make again. Maya fired controlled bursts into the advancing enemy. 2 rounds center mass. Shift target. 2 more rounds. The muscle memory came from a different time, a different war, but the fundamentals never changed. Breathe. Aim. Squeeze. The rifle barked and men fell. Beside her, Chun worked his weapon with the same disciplined precision. The SEALs formed a wall of controlled violence, each operator covering their sector with professional efficiency. But the enemy kept coming. For every fighter that fell, two more appeared from the darkness. Reloading, Maya called out, dropping her empty magazine and slamming a fresh one home. 28 rounds left across 2 magazines. She made every shot count. The assault broke against the sealed defensive line like waves against rock. The enemy pulled back, leaving their dead in the courtyard. But it was a temporary reprieve. Maya could see more fighters gathering in the shadows beyond the compound walls. Vance's voice came over the radio, tight with controlled fury. Air support still unable to launch. QRF now 25 mics out. We need to hold this position. Senior Chief Rodriguez called from the south wall. We're down to our last basic load. Another assault like that, and we're Winchester. Understood, Vance said. All elements, ammo conservation. Aim fire only. Maya moved back to check on Matthews. His color was worse. The tourniquet had saved his life, but the leg was dying without blood flow. She loosened it slightly, monitoring for renewed bleeding. A delicate balance between preserving the limb and preventing him from bleeding out. How we doing, Doc? Matthews asked weakly. You're doing great, Maya lied. Just stay with me. Chen appeared beside her, his face streaked with dust and sweat. We can't hold here much longer. Vance knows it. We all know it. Maya checked Matthews's pupils. Sluggish response. Early signs of shock despite the fluids she had pushed. 25 minutes until the QRF arrived. It might as well have been 25 hours. There's another option, Maya said quietly. Chen looked at her. What option? Maya pulled out her rangefinder and gestured toward the supply truck parked 200 meters behind their original position. That truck has an M110 in the weapons locker. Semi-automatic sniper rifle. Effective range 800 meters. Okay, Chen said slowly. So we have a sniper rifle. None of us are trained snipers. Maya met his eyes. I am. The words hung between them like a confession. Chen stared at her, processing what she had just revealed. His eyes widened as the implications settled in. You're a sniper. Was, Maya corrected, Army. 3 years before I switched to Navy corpsman. I walked away from it. Why? That's a long story. Maya looked back toward the rooftops where the enemy machine gun teams waited. But right now, those shooters are the only thing keeping us pinned. Take them out, and we can maneuver. We can survive. Chen shook his head. Vance will never authorize it. He barely lets you speak on tactics. You think he's going to hand you a precision weapon and let you run Overwatch? He doesn't have to authorize it, Maya said. He just has to be too busy to stop me. That's insubordination. That's survival. Another RPG streaked overhead and exploded against the compound wall. Concrete dust rained down on them. Somewhere in the darkness, Maya heard the enemy regrouping for another assault. Time was running out. Chen made his decision. What do you need? Cover, Maya said. In 5 minutes to get to that truck and set up. Chen keyed his radio. Senior Chief, Doc 1 needs to retrieve additional medical supplies from the support vehicle. I'm going to cover her movement. Vance's response came sharp. Negative. Too exposed. She stays in the compound. Chen looked at Maya. She saw the choice written on his face. Follow orders or trust the woman who had just revealed a secret that changed everything. Senior Chief, Chen said carefully. Matthews is deteriorating. We need the supplies in that truck or we lose him. A long pause. Then Vance's voice, reluctant. Make it fast. Maya grabbed her rifle and moved to the north entrance. Chen fell in beside her. They waited for a lull in the enemy fire, then sprinted into the darkness. The 200 meters felt like 2,000. Bullets cracked past them, stitching the ground with puffs of dirt. Maya ran in a crouch, using every depression and rock for cover. Chen matched her pace, his rifle up and scanning for threats. They reached the truck, and Maya wrenched open the weapons locker. The M110 sat in its rack, sleek and purposeful. She grabbed along with 4 magazines of 7.62 ammunition. Checked the optic. Verified the zero hadn't been knocked off during transport. Her hands moved with absolute certainty. This weapon was an extension of herself. She had qualified expert on it, had used it in combat before everything went wrong in Kandahar. The weight felt right. The balance perfect. You really know how to use that? Chen asked. Maya chamber around. Better than anyone on this team. They moved to a low ridge 50 meters from the truck. Maya went prone and set up her shooting position. Bipod down. Stock in his shoulder. I had a scope. The world narrowed to the reticle and the targets beyond. Through the optic, she could see everything. The machine gun team on the northeast rooftop. The RPG positioned to the east. Individual fighters moving between positions. At 400 meters, they looked close enough to touch. She pulled out her rangefinder and began making calculations. Wind speed, humidity, elevation. The numbers came automatically, burned into her brain by thousands of hours of training. She dialed adjustments into her scope. What are you waiting for? Chen whispered. First shot reveals my position, Maya said. I need to make it count. She selected her target. The machine gunner on the northeast rooftop. He was the biggest threat, had been pouring fire into the compound since the ambush began. Through her scope, Maya could see him clearly. Young, maybe 20, feeding a belt into his weapon. She thought about Kandahar, about the friendly fire incident that had ended her sniper career, about the promise she made to never take another life. Then she thought about Matthews bleeding out in the compound, about the SEALs fighting for their lives against impossible odds, about Chun lying beside her, trusting her with a secret that could destroy her career. Maya controlled her breathing, let her heart rate settle, found the natural pause between beats. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked against her shoulder. Through the scope, she saw the machine gunner drop. The gun went silent. Before anyone could react, Maya worked the bolt and acquired her second target. The RPG gunner on the east rooftop. She adjusted for wind, controlled her breath, fired. The gunner fell backward off the roof. The enemy positions erupted in confusion. They knew they had a sniper now, but couldn't locate her in the darkness. Maya used their confusion. Third shot, fourth, fifth. Each round found its target with surgical precision. In 90 seconds, she eliminated 6 enemy fighters and silenced both heavy weapon positions. Vance's voice exploded over the radio. Who is shooting? What the hell is happening? Chun keyed as Mike's senior chief. We have friendly sniper support. Enemy Overwatch positions neutralized. There was a long silence. Then Vance's voice, tight with barely controlled anger. Who authorized this? I did, Chun lied. We needed it. Maya was already shifting position. The enemy would have her general location now. She moved 30 meters to a new hide and set up again. Through her scope, she saw enemy fighters pointing toward her original position. They were searching the wrong place. She dropped 3 more shooters in quick succession. The enemy assault force began to waver. Their overwatch was gone, their heavy weapons silenced. And somewhere in the darkness, an invisible predator was picking them apart one shot at a time. The assault broke. The enemy fighters pulled back, dragging their wounded with them. In the compound, the SEALs held their fire, conserving ammunition. Maya kept her scope on the rooftops, watching for any movement. Nothing. The enemy had withdrawn beyond her effective range. Chun looked at her with something between awe and disbelief. You just changed the entire tactical situation. Maya ejected her magazine and checked her remaining ammunition. 3 mags left, 20 rounds in the current mag. That's what snipers do, she said quietly. We change battlefields. In the compound, she could hear Vance demanding answers, demanding to know who was shooting and why he wasn't informed. But his voice carried less fury now, because he was alive, because they were all alive, because the corpsman he had dismissed had just saved every man on his team. The silence after the firefight felt unnatural. Maya kept her eye to the scope, scanning the darkness for any sign of enemy movement. Beside her, Chen monitored the compound through his own optic. Doc 1, Vance's voice came through the radio, cold as winter steel. Return to the compound immediately. That's a direct order. Maya and Chen exchanged glances. She saved her rifle and began breaking down her position. They moved back toward the compound in tactical bounds, one covering while the other moved. The enemy had withdrawn, but Maya knew better than to assume they were gone. When they reached the north entrance, Vance was waiting. His face was unreadable in the darkness, but his body language radiated controlled fury. Behind him, the other SEALs watched with expressions ranging from confusion to curiosity. Inside, Vance said, "Now." They followed him into what remained of the compound's main room. Matthews lay on a makeshift litter, his colors slightly better now that the immediate threat had passed. Torres and Rodriguez stood guard at the windows. Vance turned to face Maya. His eyes dropped to the M110 in her hands, then back to her face. "Explain." Maya stood at attention, the rifle held across her chest. "Senior Chief, the enemy Overwatch positions were preventing our extraction and inflicting casualties. I neutralized the threat. I didn't ask what you did. I asked you to explain how a Navy corpsman executes precision shots at 400 meters in combat conditions." The moment of truth had arrived. Maya could continue the lie, claim beginner's luck, pretend the shots were wild success. But she knew now, and Vance wasn't stupid. The shots had been too clean, too precise, too professional. "I was trained as a sniper, Senior Chief. Army. Before I became a corpsman." Vance's jaw tightened. "Trained where?" "Fort Benning. I graduated sniper school 4 years ago. Top of my class." The words fell into the room like grenades. Every SEAL turned to stare at her. Torres's mouth actually fell open. Rodriguez looked like he'd been slapped. Vance took a step closer. "You're telling me that for 18 months, while assigned to this team, you've been hiding the fact that you're a qualified sniper?" "Yes, Senior Chief." "Why?" Maya met his eyes. "Because I left that life behind. I became a corpsman to save lives, not take them. I have my reasons." "Reasons?" Vance repeated, his voice dangerous. "You had reasons to withhold tactical capabilities from your team? To let us walk into situations where your skills could have made the difference?" "I made a choice," Maya said, "to be a different person." "Well, your choice almost got us all killed tonight," Vance said. "If we had known we had sniper capability, I would have positioned you differently, used you differently. Maybe we wouldn't have walked into this ambush blind." The accusation hit hard because it carried truth. Maya had known those rooftops were Overwatch positions, had tried to warn him, but she had held back, afraid to reveal too much, and men had nearly died for her silence. "You're right," Maya said quietly. "I should have told you." "Yes, you should have." Vance turned away, then spun back. "What else are you hiding, petty officer? What other skills have you decided we don't need to know about?" "Nothing, Senior Chief. Just the sniper training. Just," Vance said bitterly, "just the most valuable tactical asset on this team." He gestured to the M110. "How many shots did you fire?" 13 rounds. 11 confirmed kills. 2 probables." The SEALs exchanged glances. 13 rounds, 11 kills. Numbers that would be impressive for any sniper. For a corpsman who had supposedly never done this before, they were impossible. Chin spoke up from his position by the window. "Senior Chief, with respect, she saved our lives. Without those shots, we'd still be pinned down. Maybe dead." Vance rounded on him. "And you knew about this?" "I found out tonight," Chun said, "when she told me she could make those shots. And you didn't think to inform me?" "There wasn't time, Senior Chief. We needed the Overwatch eliminated. She could do it, so we made it happen." Vance looked between them, his expression unreadable. Then he turned back to Maya. "You're grounded for medical duties until we sort this out. Rodriguez will handle any further casualties." "Senior Chief," Maya started. "That's an order, petty officer." Vance pointed to a corner of the room. "Sit down. Don't move. Don't touch anything. We'll deal with this when we get back to base." Maya moved to the corner and sat, still holding the M110. The other SEALs avoided her eyes. She had saved their lives, but violated the fundamental trust of a team. Had hidden who she was, what she could do. The radio crackled. "QRF inbound, 5 mics." Finally, Vance keyed his mic, copy QRF. "LZ is hot. Possible enemy in the area." The next 5 minutes passed in tense silence. Maya sat in her corner, weapon across her lap, watching the team she had tried to protect, now treating her like a stranger. Matthews was stable, but needed immediate evacuation. Two other SEALs had wounds that required proper medical attention. But Maya wasn't allowed to help. Rodriguez did his best with limited training, but Maya could see mistakes, could see Matthews's condition deteriorating. Every instinct screamed at her to intervene, but Vance's order held her in place. The sound of helicopter rotors grew louder. Through the windows, Maya could see dust kicking up as two Black Hawks settled into the courtyard. The QRF team poured out, weapons up, securing the perimeter. A lieutenant approached Vance. The two men spoke in low tones. The lieutenant glanced at Maya, then back to Vance. More conversation. More glances. Load the wounded, Vance ordered. Everyone else maintained security until we could get the second lift. The SEALs moved Matthews to the first helicopter along with the other wounded. Maya watched them load her patient, saw the medics taking over care. She had kept him alive through impossible conditions, and now she couldn't even say goodbye. Chen moved to sit beside her. That was rough. Maya didn't respond. She was watching the rooftops through the doorway, still scanning for threats even though she had been relieved of duty. For what it's worth, Chen said quietly, "You made the right call. Those shots saved us." Vance doesn't see it that way. Vance is angry because he's been wrong about you for 18 months. That's hard for a man like him to accept. Maya finally looked at Chen. His face was sincere. Worried. "You shouldn't have lied for me." "About knowing." Chen shrugged. "We're a team. Teams cover each other." "Not anymore," Maya said. "After tonight, I'll be lucky if they don't kick me out entirely." The first helicopter lifted off, rotor wash blasting through the compound. Maya watched it disappear into the night sky, carrying Matthews to safety. One life saved. But at what cost? Vance approached. "Stand up, petty officer." Maya stood, rifle still in hand. "Give me the weapon." She hesitated. The M110 felt like the only honest thing in her world right now. But orders were orders. She handed it over. Vance checked the chamber, verified it was clear, then slung it over his shoulder. "The second bird is landing. You're on it. When we get back to base, you're going to tell me everything. Your real story. No more secrets." "Yes, Senior Chief." The second Black Hawk touched down. The remaining SEALs loaded up. Maya took a seat near the rear, isolated from the others. Through the open door, she watched the compound recede as they lifted off. Somewhere down there, the enemy was regrouping, planning their next move. But Maya's war was different now. She had revealed herself, shown her true capabilities, and in doing so, had lost the identity she had spent 5 years building. The helicopter banked hard, heading back toward the FOB. Maya closed her eyes and saw Master Sergeant Kowalski's face. Heard his voice from 4 years ago. "You're exceptional, Okonkwo. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." But being exceptional had a price. And tonight, Maya had started paying it. Forward Operating Base Sharana looked different in the pre-dawn light. Maya sat on a wooden bench outside the operations center, still wearing her blood-stained uniform, waiting for Vance to summon her. The other SEALs had disappeared into their quarters. No one had spoken to her during the flight back. The door opened. Vance stood silhouetted against the light from inside. "Get in here." Maya followed him into a small briefing room. A single table, 2 chairs. Vance gestured to one, and she sat. He remained standing, arms crossed, studying her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "Start talking," he said. "From the beginning. And I want the truth this time." Maya took a breath. "I enlisted in the Army right out of high school. Alabama National Guard initially, then active duty. I scored high enough on the marksman test that they pushed me towards specialized training. You went to Ranger school. I went through the Ranger pipeline, yes. Then I was selected for sniper school at Fort Benning. I was the only woman in my class. How'd you do? I graduated top of the class. Expert qualification on every weapon system. Master Sergeant Kowalski said I had the best fundamentals he'd seen in 20 years. Vance's expression didn't change. So you were an elite Army sniper. What happened? Kandahar, Maya said. The word tasted like ashes. 3 years ago, we were providing overwatch for a clearing operation. Multiple friendly units in the area. I had a target confirmed hostile weapon in hand. I took the shot. And? Maya's hands clenched in her lap. The target went down. But there was another person I hadn't seen. Civilian. A kid. Maybe 14. He was behind a hostile, carrying water. My round went through the target and hit him too. Vance's face softened slightly. Through and through. Yes, the boy survived. But I had shot a child. Even though it was a clean shot on a legitimate target, even though I followed every protocol, I couldn't get past it. The investigation cleared me. Command wanted me back in the field, but I couldn't do it anymore. So you left. I requested a transfer to medical. Figured if I couldn't stop myself from hurting people, at least I could try to save them. The Army wasn't interested in keeping a sniper who didn't want to shoot anymore. I finished my contract and joined the Navy as a corpsman. Started over. Different service. Different specialty. Different person. Except you weren't different, Vance said. You just buried who you were. I tried to be different. Vance finally sat down across from her. For 18 months, you've been on my team. 18 months of operations. And you never once thought to mention that you had capabilities we could use? I thought I could leave it behind, Maya said. Thought I could just be a medic. But the skills don't go away. The training doesn't fade. I'd see tactical situations and know exactly how to solve them. See sniper positions and know exactly how they were thinking. It was always there. Tonight you used it. Tonight I had to choose. Let good men die to preserve my secret, or become the person I swore I'd never be again. And you chose to save us, Vance said. He leaned back in his chair. You put 11 hostiles down with 13 rounds. You eliminated Overwatch positions that had us completely pinned. You changed the tactical situation so dramatically that the enemy broke and ran. He paused. Do you understand what that means? That I'm good at killing people. It means you're a weapon, Vance said. The most effective kind. The kind that thinks and adapts and makes impossible shots in the worst conditions. The kind we trained for years to create and almost never find. I don't want to be a weapon anymore, Maya said quietly. Too bad, because that's what you are. Vance stood and walked to the window. The question is what we do about it now. You lied about your capabilities, withheld tactical information, violated the chain of command when you took that rifle without authorization. I know. On the other hand, you saved 12 lives tonight, including mine. That count for something. Maya said nothing. Outside, she could hear the base coming to life. Morning formations, vehicle movements, the ordinary rhythm of military life continuing while her own world hung in balance. Vance turned back to face her. I talked to the lieutenant commanding the QRF. Told him we had a designated marksman who engaged enemy positions during the firefight. He's writing it up as a successful defensive action. No mention of your background. No questions about authorization. Why would you do that? Because despite being furious with you, I'm not stupid. We need people like you. The teams need people like you. And throwing you to the administrative wolves helps no one. Maya looked up at him. What happens now? Now we figure out how to use you properly. Vance sat back down. You're not just a corpsman anymore, Okonkwo. You can't be. Tonight proved that. The question is whether you can accept being both. I don't know if I can. Then you better figure it out fast. Because I'm recommending you for a specialized role. Combat medic with precision fire capability. You'll maintain your corpsman duties, but you'll also serve as designated marksman when needed. Senior Chief, I'm not sure This isn't a request, Vance cut her off. You have skills that save lives, both with medical care and with a rifle. Using only half of what you can do is a waste. Worse, it's a betrayal of the men who depend on you. The words hit hard. Maya thought about Matthews bleeding out, about the SEALs pinned down by fire she could have eliminated sooner if she hadn't been hiding, about Shin trusting her when she finally told the truth. What about the team? Maya asked. They know I lied to them. Teams are built on trust, Vance said. You broke that. Now you have to earn it back. But here's the thing. You saved their lives tonight. That's the kind of action that speaks louder than words. Give them time. They'll come around. And you? Will you come around? Vance's expression hardened. I don't like being lied to. I don't like finding out that my corpsman has been a ghost the whole time. But I respect results. And your results tonight were undeniable. So yes, I'll come around. But you pull something like this again, withhold information that affects team safety, and I'll end your career myself. Clear? Clear, Senior Chief. Good. Vance stood. Get cleaned up. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we debrief the operation properly. And we start training you for your new role. Maya rose from her chair. Senior Chief, thank you for not burning me. Don't thank me yet. This is going to be harder than anything you've done. You'll have to be the medic and the shooter. The person who saves lives and the person who takes them. Not everyone can handle that duality. I handled it tonight. Tonight you had no choice. Wait until you have to make that choice over and over again. See how you feel then. Maya left the briefing room and stepped into the morning sun. Across the compound, she saw Chun talking with Rodriguez and Torres. When Chun spotted her, he said something to the others and walked over. How bad? He asked. Could have been worse. Vance is creating a new role for me. Corpsman and designated marksman. Chun nodded slowly. That makes sense. Use all your skills instead of wasting them. The others won't see it that way. Some will. Some won't. But they all saw what you did tonight. That counts for something. They walked toward the DFAC in silence. Maya could feel eyes on her from across the compound. Word had spread fast. The corpsman who was secretly a sniper. The woman who had been hiding her true capabilities. She would be a source of gossip and speculation for weeks. But she was alive. The team was alive. Matthews would keep his leg. And maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to be both the healer and the warrior without destroying herself in the process. Chun paused at the DFAC entrance. For what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. Both tonight and 3 years ago. It takes strength to walk away from something you're good at because it's hurting you. And it takes even more strength to come back to it when lives depend on it. I just hope I don't regret it. You won't, Chun said, because this time you're not doing it alone. You got a team. We'll watch your back. Maya managed a small smile. Thanks, Chun. Inside the DFAC, the normal breakfast chaos continued. Maya grabbed a tray and moved through the line. Some SEALs nodded to her. Others looked away. The reactions would sort themselves out over time. She found a quiet corner and sat alone, too tired to eat, but needing the routine. Her phone buzzed. A message from the hospital. Matthews was out of surgery. Leg saved. Prognosis good. 1 life preserved. 11 lives taken. The math of combat never balanced cleanly. But maybe that was okay. Maybe being effective meant accepting the contradictions instead of trying to resolve them. Maya ate her breakfast and prepared for whatever came next. 3 days passed before Maya saw the full team together again. Vance had kept her busy with administrative tasks while the official after-action reports were written and filed. The story went into the record as a successful defensive action with Maya listed as designated marksman. No mention of deception. No questions about her past. But the team knew the truth. And truth had a way of changing everything. The briefing room felt different when Maya walked in. The usual pre-mission chatter died down. 12 sets of eyes tracked her movement to an empty seat. She sat down and waited, her medical pack on the floor beside her, the M110 case leaning against the wall. Vance entered and the room snapped to attention. Seats, he said, and they all sat. He pulled up a map on the digital screen. New mission came down from command. High-value target, different compound, similar profile to our last operation. Maya studied the imagery. Another walled compound in mountainous terrain. Multiple buildings. Limited approaches. Her mind automatically began identifying sniper positions, fields of fire, danger areas. This time we do it different, Vance said. He looked directly at Maya. Petty Officer Okonkwo will serve dual role. Primary, medical support. Secondary, precision fire support. She'll have overwatch position during the assault phase. The room stayed silent. Maya could feel the weight of unspoken questions, unresolved tensions. Rodriguez shifted in his seat. Torres stared at the map. Only Chun looked comfortable with the arrangement. Questions, Vance said. It wasn't really a question. Rodriguez raised his hand. Senior Chief, no disrespect to Doc, but designated marksman is a specialized role. Shouldn't we have someone with recent operational experience? Doc has operational experience, Vance said flatly. 3 years as an Army sniper. Graduated top of her class from Fort Benning. 11 confirmed kills 3 nights ago under combat conditions. Anyone here got better qualifications? The room stayed quiet. Rodriguez looked like he wanted to argue, but had no ground to stand on. Torres spoke up. My concern is split focus. If she's watching for medical casualties and taking shots, which takes priority? Good question, Vance said. Doc. Maya stood. Medical emergencies take priority unless lives are immediately at risk from enemy fire. If someone's bleeding, but the team is under effective fire, I eliminate the threat first. Once the immediate danger is neutralized, I shift to medical care. What if we're taking a shot when someone gets hit? Torres pressed. Then I break off the shot unless breaking off means more casualties. It's a judgment call, same as any combat decision. Torres nodded slowly, seeming satisfied with the answer. Matthews spoke from the back row. Maya had visited him in the hospital, but this was the first time seeing him with the team. His leg was bandaged, but he was mobile on crutches. Doc saved my life twice that night. Once with a tourniquet and once by dropping the guys who had us pinned. I trust her to make the right call. The statement carried weight. Matthews was respected, a 7-year veteran of the teams. His endorsement shifted something in the room's atmosphere. Vance continued the briefing. Insertion timeline. Extraction plan. Air support protocols. Maya listened while also studying the team dynamics. Some men still watched her with suspicion, others with curiosity, a few with what might have been respect. After the briefing, Chin approached. Want to hit the range? Test your zero before the operation? Maya nodded. Yeah, good idea. They walked to the FOB's makeshift range, 100-meter clearing backed by a mountain slope. Maya unpacked the M110 and set up in the prone position. Chin spotted for her with binoculars. She fired 3 rounds at the 100-meter target. Tight group, slightly right. She adjusted her windage and fired 3 more. Dead center. Still got it, Chin observed. It's like riding a bike. Your body remembers even when your mind wants to forget. How are you holding up? With everything? Maya sat up and checked her ammunition. Honestly, I don't know. Part of me feels relieved that I don't have to hide anymore. Part of me feels like I betrayed everything I stood for when I left the army. You didn't betray anything. You adapted. That's what we do. Maya loaded another magazine. When I became a corpsman, I told myself I was done with killing, that I'd found a better way to serve. Then one firefight, and I'm right back to it. You saved 12 lives that night, Chin said. The medical skills and the shooting skills. Both save lives. Maybe that's the point. You don't have to choose between them. A voice called from behind them. Mind if I join? They turned to see Rodriguez approaching with his rifle. Maya tensed slightly, but nodded. Range is open. Rodriguez set up 2 positions down from her. He fired a few rounds, then paused. Look, document. I owe you an apology. I questioned your qualifications in there. That was out of line. You had valid concerns, Maya said. Maybe, but I've been thinking about that night. About how you moved across open ground to reach Matthews. About those shots you made. Rodriguez shook his head. I worked with a lot of shooters. What you did was exceptional. So whatever reservations I had, you earned my respect. Maya felt something loosen in her chest. Thanks, Rodriguez. That means a lot. Just do me a favor. Next time you've got secret superpowers, maybe mention them before we're all about to die. Maya laughed despite herself. Deal. They spent the next hour on the range together. Rodriguez asking about her sniper training. Maya explaining techniques and principles. Chun working his own weapon nearby. The conversation felt normal. Like maybe the team could get past the deception and focus on what mattered. That evening, Maya visited Matthews in the medical tent. He was sitting up, color returned to his face, leg elevated but healing well. Hey doc, he said. Come and check your work? Something like that. How's the pain? Manageable. Doctors say I'll be walking normal in 6 weeks. Back to full duty in 12. That's good news. Maya checked his chart, reviewed the surgical notes. They did excellent work, because you kept me alive long enough to get here. Matthews met her eyes. I remember bits and pieces from that night. The tourniquet, your hands working on me, your voice telling me to stay with you. Then later, the sound of that rifle, the enemy fire stopping. You doing both things at once. Just doing my job. No, Matthews said firmly. You were doing 2 jobs. and you were doing both of them better than most people do one. He paused. Look, I know some of the guys are still working through the trust thing, but as far as I'm concerned, you're exactly the kind of person I want on my team. Someone who can adapt. Someone who uses every skill they have to keep us alive. I appreciate that. I also heard you're going back out with us on the next operation. In the new role. If Vance approves my final evaluation, yes. Good, Matthews said. Because if I got to sit here healing while you all go play hero, I want to know someone's got Overwatch who actually knows what they're doing. Maya smiled. I'll do my best not to let you down. She left the medical tent and walked across the darkening FOB. Above her, stars emerged in the Afghan sky. The same stars she had watched 4 years ago during her sniper training. The same stars that had looked down on her in Kandahar when everything fell apart. But she wasn't the same person who had walked away from sniping 3 years ago. She had been trying to escape part of herself, thinking she could cut away the warrior and keep only the healer. Now, she understood that both were essential. Both were her. Vance found her watching the stars from outside her quarters. Got a minute? Maya nodded, and they walked together toward the operations center. I've been reviewing the plan for the next mission, Vance said. I'm putting you on the North Ridge. Best Overwatch position for the compound. You'll have clear lines of sight to all entry points. Understood. Vance stopped walking. I also need you to understand something. When I first met you, I saw a corpsman. Competent, professional, but just a medic. I underestimated you because you're a woman. Because you seemed quiet. Because you didn't fit my picture of what an operator looks like. Senior Chief, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Vance cut her off. I was wrong. And my being wrong almost cost us everything. You tried to warn me about those rooftops. I shut you down. That's on me. Maya considered his words carefully. You weren't entirely wrong to be cautious. I was hiding things. Important things. But I should have listened better. Should have trusted your tactical instincts, even without knowing your background. That's what good leaders do. And I failed at it. The admission hung between them. Maya had never expected Vance to apologize. Had assumed he would remain the hard-edged skeptic forever. We both made mistakes, Maya said finally. But we're past them now, are we? Vance studied her face. Can you really do this? Be both the person who heals and the person who kills? Because I've seen men try to walk that line. It destroys most of them. I don't know, Maya admitted. But I have to try. Because you're right. Using only half of what I can do means people die who don't have to. And I can't live with that either. Vance nodded. Then we'll figure it out together. As a team, they walked back through the FOB in companionable silence. Above them, the stars continued their eternal watch. Tomorrow would bring another mission. More danger. More choices between healing and fighting. But Maya wouldn't face it alone. She had a team now. A team that knew who she really was. All of her. And, somehow, that made everything else bearable. The night before the operation, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay on her bunk staring at the plywood ceiling, listening to the distant generator hum and the occasional crack of outgoing artillery. Tomorrow would be different from every mission before. Tomorrow she wouldn't be hiding, wouldn't be pretending to be less than she was. Tomorrow she would be exactly who she had trained to be. At 0300, she gave up on sleep and went to check her gear. Medical pack organized by priority. Trauma supplies on top. Advanced interventions deeper. Every item in its place. Every piece of equipment triple-checked. Then the M110. She broke it down completely, cleaned each component, reassembled it in the darkness by feel alone. Loaded 4 magazines with match-grade ammunition. Verified her optic zero hadn't shifted. The ritual calmed her mind, focused her purpose. Chen found her in the armory as the sun started painting the mountains gold. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Me neither. Chen sat down on a bench beside her cleaning station. I keep running through the plan, looking for the holes. There are always holes, Maya said. We just have to be ready when they appear. That's what bothers me. This compound has the same profile as the last one. Same defensive advantages. Same Overwatch positions. What if it's another ambush? Then we'll be ready this time. Maya reassembled the rifle's bolt carrier group. Last time they surprised us. This time we know what to look for. Because of you. Because of what happened. Maya set down her cleaning rod. Chun, if something goes wrong out there, if I have to choose between taking a shot and treating a casualty, you need to know I'll make the call that saves the most lives. I know. That's why I trust you. The rest of the team assembled at 0400. Vance ran through the final briefing. Insertion by vehicle to offset position. 2-kilometer approach on foot. Assault commences at first light. Air support on standby. QRF spinning at 15-minute alert. Okonkwo, Vance said. Your position. Maya stood and pointed to the topographic map. North Ridge, elevation advantage of 200 meters over the compound. Clear sight lines to all 3 entry points. Range to farthest target approximately 500 meters. I'll establish position 30 minutes before assault begins. What's your priority of targets? Vance asked. Any threat to the assault teams. Heavy weapons first. Machine guns, RPGs. Then enemy leadership if identifiable. Then targets of opportunity that present danger to our people. Rules of engagement? Positive identification required. No shots on ambiguous targets. Medical emergencies take precedence over target engagement unless team is under immediate effective fire. Vance nodded approval. Rodriguez, you're with her until she's set. Then you fall back to join the assault. Roger, Senior Chief. They loaded the vehicles in darkness. Maya rode with Rodriguez and Torres, her rifle case between her knees, medical pack secure on her back. The weight felt right. Both roles integrated into one mission. The drive took 90 minutes over terrain that barely qualified as road. They dismounted at a wadi 3 kilometers from the target and began the foot movement. Maya and Rodriguez split from the main group, heading northeast toward the ridge position while the assault teams approached from the south. The climb was steep. Maya's legs burned, but she maintained pace with Rodriguez, who was 15 years younger and 70 pounds heavier. Her smaller frame and mountain training from Ranger School gave her advantages in this terrain. They reached the ridge position with 40 minutes to spare before the assault. Rodriguez helped her set up a hide position using natural vegetation and a camouflage net. Maya established her shooting platform, ranged key points in the compound, recorded wind speed and direction. You good here? Rodriguez asked. I'm good. Go catch up with your team. Rodriguez hesitated. Doc, whatever happens out there, however it goes down, you've got our backs and we've got yours. Remember that. I will. She watched him descend the ridge and disappear into the pre-dawn darkness. Then she was alone with her rifle, and the compound spread below her like a tactical map made real. Through her scope, Maya studied the target. 3 buildings inside the walls. Courtyard in the center. Guard towers on the corners. 2 men visible on the north tower. 3 more patrolling the courtyard perimeter. She keyed her radio. Overwatch in position. I have 5 enemy personnel visible. North tower has 2 sentries with AK platforms. 3 roving patrols in courtyard carrying small arms. Copy, Vance responded. Maintain observation. Assault teams moving into position now. Maya watched the darkness around the compound, looking for the ambush she knew might be waiting. Scanning rooftops of nearby buildings. Checking ridgelines for the glint of optics or weapons. Everything looked clear, but so had the last target. The assault teams materialized from the darkness like ghosts. Chun and Torres approaching the north entrance. Vance with 4 SEALs at the main gate. Rodriguez and 2 others positioning at the south wall. Overwatch, Vance said quietly. Status. All clear from my position. No indication of external security or Overwatch. The teams breached simultaneously. Flashbangs lit up the compound. Maya kept her scope on the surrounding area, waiting for the trap to spring. Waiting for enemy reinforcements to appear from hidden positions. But nothing came. The assault was proceeding exactly as planned. Then Maya saw movement on a rooftop 200 meters east of the compound. A figure setting up a tube. RPG. Aiming at the north entrance where Chun and Torres were advancing. Contact, Maya called. Rooftop 200 meters east of compound. RPG gunner preparing to fire on north team. She settled behind her rifle, controlled her breathing. The target was partially concealed behind a low wall. only his head and shoulders visible. Difficult shot. Elevated position. Wind pushing left to right at approximately 10 miles per hour. Maya made her adjustments. Found her natural pause between heartbeats. The target lifted the RPG tube to his shoulder, aiming down at Chen's position. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked. Through the scope, she saw the target drop. The RPG tube clattered onto the roof, unfired. Threat neutralized, Maya reported. Good kill, Vance said. Continue observation. Another figure appeared on the same rooftop. Retrieving the RPG, Maya fired again. Second target down. The compound assault was going smooth. Too smooth. Maya's instincts screamed warning. This was supposed to be a high-value target with significant security. Where was the resistance? Movement caught her eye. 300 meters south. Multiple figures emerging from a building she had assumed was abandoned. They were carrying weapons, moving toward the compound in a coordinated assault formation. Break, break, Maya called. Enemy reinforcements, south side. Approximately 15 combatants moving to flank the assault teams. Vance's voice stayed calm. Can you interdict? I can slow them, but there's too many for one shooter. Do what you can. We're pulling security to cover the south approach. Maya shifted her aim to the approaching enemy force. They were moving in tactical bounds. Trained fighters, not random insurgents. This was the ambush, not at the compound itself, but waiting for the SEALs to commit to the assault before closing the trap. She selected her targets. The lead elements. The ones directing the movement. First shot dropped the point man. Second shot took down what appeared to be a squad leader. The enemy force scattered, seeking cover. But they kept coming, advancing in short rushes. Using terrain effectively, Maya fired methodically, each shot carefully aimed. She dropped 6 more fighters, but the rest continued their approach. South team, you've got approximately 9 hostiles closing on your position, Maya reported. Range now 150 meters. Copy. We're repositioning to engage. Through her scope, Maya watched the SEALs maneuver to meet the threat. But the enemy had them partially flanked. This was going to get ugly. Then she saw it. On the ridgeline beyond the approaching enemy force. A figure with a long rifle, setting up in a sniper position, aiming toward the compound where her team was exposed. Enemy sniper, Maya called. Ridgeline south, range approximately 600 meters. He's got eyes on the compound. 600 meters. Extreme range for the M110. Wind. Elevation. Target partially concealed. Maya had made shots like this in training, but never in combat. Never when lives hung in the balance. Can you take him? Vance asked. Maya did the calculations. Adjusted her scope. The enemy sniper was settling into position. In seconds, he would start engaging her teammates. Men who trusted her, who had accepted her despite the lies. She thought about Kandahar, about the shot that had ended her sniper career, about the promise she made to herself. Then she thought about Chun, about Matthews, about Rodriguez who had apologized to her, about Vance who had given her another chance. Taking the shot, Maya said. She controlled her breathing, found her stillness. The world narrowed to the reticle and the target 600 meters away. She squeezed the trigger and sent the round downrange. Time seemed to suspend. Then, through the scope, she saw the enemy sniper slump forward over his rifle. Threat eliminated, she reported. The firefight intensified below. The SEALs engaged the enemy assault force at close range. Maya provided precision fire support, taking shots that were too dangerous for the assault teams to attempt. Every round she fired was a life saved. Every target she dropped was a threat eliminated. 20 minutes later, the compound was secure and the enemy force was broken. 9 hostile casualties from Maya's position. The high-value target captured. 0 friendly losses. All elements, Vance called. Exfil and 5 mics. Overwatch, collapsed to rally point. Copy, Maya said. She broke down her position and began the descent from the ridge. Her hands were steady, her mind clear. She had done it. Both roles, healer and warrior. And the team had survived because of it. Maya reached the rally point as the sun broke over the mountains. The team was already there, securing the high-value target and preparing for extraction. Chun waved her over to where they had set up a casualty collection point. "Got 2 wounded," he said. Rodriguez took shrapnel to the shoulder. Torres has a through hand throw in his calf. Neither critical, but they need attention. Maya dropped her rifle case and swung her medical pack around. The transition from shooter to medic happened without thought now. She moved to Rodriguez first, cutting away his sleeve to expose the wound. "How bad, Doc?" Rodriguez asked through gritted teeth. "You'll live." Maya irrigated the wound, checking for embedded fragments. She pulled 3 small pieces of shrapnel with forceps, packed the wound with hemostatic gauze, and bandaged it tight. "You're going to need antibiotics and a proper surgical cleaning when we get back, but this will hold you." "Thanks." Document Rodriguez managed a pained smile. "Nice shooting up there, by the way. We saw those tracers dropping. Knew it was you keeping them off us. Just doing my job." She moved to Torres and examined his leg. The bullet had passed cleanly through the meat of his calf, missing bone and major vessels. "Lucky shot. By the enemy, I mean. This missed everything important." "Doesn't feel lucky," Torres said. "Trust me, it is." Maya started in 4-line and pushed pain medication. "You'll be back to full duty in 6 weeks." She cleaned and dressed both entry and exit wounds, then helped Torres into a position where his leg was elevated. Vance approached as she finished. "Casualties stable?" "Stable and ready for transport. Neither needs urgent surgical intervention, but they should be seen within a few hours." "Good work." Vance paused, then added all around. "That 600-meter shot on the enemy sniper. That saved lives." Maya packed her medical supplies back into organized compartments. "Just glad I could make it count, Senior Chief." The helicopters arrived 15 minutes later. Blackhawks thundering down into the valley, rotor wash kicking up dust and loose stones. The team loaded quickly, the high-value targets secured and hooded. Rodriguez and Torres helped aboard by their teammates. Maya took a seat near the door, her rifle between her knees, medical pack at her feet. As the helicopter lifted off, she watched the compound recede below. Another mission complete. Another day where everyone came home alive. Chin sat down beside her, plugging into the internal comms. "You made the difference today," he said over the headset. "That enemy assault would have rolled right over us if you hadn't spotted them." "Team effort," Maya replied. "Maybe, but your effort counted more than most." The flight back to FOB Sharana took an hour. Maya spent it running through the mission in her mind. 9 confirmed kills from her position. 2 teammates treated and stabilized. 0 friendly fatalities. The number should have felt like victory, but instead she felt a familiar weight settling on her shoulders. 9 people dead because of her shots. 9 people who had woken up that morning not knowing it was their last day. The fact that they were enemy combatants didn't change the fundamental reality. She had taken lives, had become again the thing she had tried to escape, but she had also saved lives. Rodriguez and Torres were alive because of her medical skills. Chun and the assault teams had survived the flanking attack because of her warning and covering fire. The math was impossible to calculate, but undeniable. Maybe that was the answer. Maybe there was no resolution, no clean moral accounting. Maybe the only thing she could do was use every skill she possessed to keep her people alive and accept the weight that came with it. The FOB appeared ahead, a collection of plywood buildings and HESCO barriers that somehow felt like home. The helicopters landed and the team dispersed to their various tasks. Debrief, gear maintenance, medical checks, the machinery of military operations continuing its relentless cycle. Maya walked Rodriguez and Torres to the medical tent, transferring their care to the staff there with detailed handoff reports. Then she went to clean her weapons and secure her gear. The ritual gave her hands something to do while her mind processed everything. She was breaking down the M110 when Vance found her. "Got a minute?" "Always, Senior Chief." They walked to the operations center and into the same briefing room where Vance had confronted her about her past. But the atmosphere was different now. No anger, no tensión. Just 2 professionals discussing the mission. "Command is pleased with the results," Vance said. High-value target captured. Minimal friendly casualties. Enemy force neutralized. He pulled out a tablet and showed her a message. They're recommending you for a Navy Achievement Medal for actions during both operations. Maya looked at the citation. It described her medical care and her precision fire support in clinical military language. Made it all sound so clean and professional. No mention of the wait, the doubt, the struggle to reconcile who she was with who she needed to be. I don't need a medal, Senior Chief. Maybe not, but you've earned it. More importantly, you've earned the team's trust. All of it. Vance set down the tablet. I was wrong about you, Okonkwo. I judged you based on what I expected instead of what you were capable of. That's on me. But you've proven yourself beyond any doubt. You're not just a good corpsman or a good shooter. You're exactly what this team needs. Thank you, Senior Chief. That means a lot. There's something else. Vance leaned back in his chair. Command wants to formalize your role. Create a new position designation. Combat Medic Specialist with Precision Fire Qualification. They want to use you as a model for other teams. Train more people who can operate in both capacities. Maya felt a flutter of uncertainty. That's a big step. It is, and it's entirely your choice. You can stay in your current role, continue doing what you're doing, or you can help build something new. Show other teams that having someone who can heal and fight makes everyone more effective. I need to think about it. Take your time, but not too much time. Command wants an answer in 72 hours. Maya left the operations center and walked across the FOB as afternoon faded into evening. The weight of the decision pressed on her. Accepting the new role meant fully embracing both parts of herself, meant acknowledging that she was a weapon as much as a healer, meant never being able to go back to the simple fiction that she was just a corpsman. But refusing it meant wasting her capabilities, meant other teams wouldn't have the advantage her skills provided, meant good people might die who didn't have to. She found herself at the medical tent. Inside, Rodriguez and Torres were recovering, their wounds cleaned and dressed properly now. Matthews was there too, visiting on his crutches, telling stories that made the wounded men laugh. "Doc," Matthews called when he saw her. "Come tell these guys about that 600-meter shot." "They don't believe me." "It was just a shot," Maya said, but she moved closer. "Just a shot," Torres repeated. "At 600 meters. On an elevated target. In wind. While we were taking contact." He shook his head. "Rodriguez and I were talking. We figure you saved our lives at least 3 times today. Once spotting that ambush. Once dropping the guys who had us flanked. Once taking out that sniper who had us zeroed. I was doing my job. Your job is keeping us alive," Rodriguez said. "Both ways. With the medical gear and with that rifle. And you're damn good at both." Maya looked at the 3 men. Matthews, who she had saved with a tourniquet. Rodriguez and Torres, who she had treated under fire. All of them alive because she had been willing to use every skill she possessed. The decision crystallized in that moment. This was who she was. Not a medic who could shoot or a sniper who could heal. Both. Fully integrated. No more hiding. No more pretending. She walked back to the operations center and found Vance still working at his desk. "Senior Chief, I've made my decision." That was fast. It was easier than I thought. Maya stood at attention. "I accept the new role. I'll help develop the program. Train others. Whatever command needs." Vance stood and extended his hand. "Welcome to the new job, Specialist Okonkwo." They shook hands. The gesture felt significant. A formal acknowledgement of who Maya had become. Not the person who had walked away from sniping 3 years ago. Not the corpsman who had hidden her skills for 18 months. Someone new. Someone who had learned to carry both the medical bag and a rifle without being destroyed by the contradiction. "One more thing," Vance said. "The team wants to do something for you. Tomorrow night. Nothing formal. Just a way of saying thanks and welcome. You should come. I'll be there." Maya left the operations center and walked to her quarters as stars emerged in the Afghan sky. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new missions, new choices between healing and fighting. But she wouldn't face them alone. She had a team, had people who knew who she really was and valued her for it. She thought about Master Sergeant Kowalski, who had believed in her when no one else did. about the girl from Alabama who had learned to shoot before she learned algebra, about the sniper who had walked away after Kandahar, convinced she could never fire another shot. That girl had become someone stronger, someone who understood that power meant nothing without the wisdom to use it properly, someone who could hold life and death in her hands and choose correctly between them. Maya Okonkwo had found her way home, not to who she had been, but to who she was meant to be all along. The team gathering happened in an unused storage building that someone had transformed with folding chairs and a makeshift bar constructed from ammunition crates. Nothing official. No officers present except Vance, who had changed out of his uniform into civilian clothes. Just the SEALs and their corpsmen sharing stories and cold drinks smuggled in from somewhere Maya didn't ask about. She arrived fashionably late, uncertain what to expect. The conversation died down when she walked through the door. 12 sets of eyes turned toward her. Then Shun started clapping. Rodriguez joined in. Within seconds, the entire team was on their feet, applauding. Maya felt her face flush. This wasn't what she had expected. Wasn't what she knew how to handle. Speech, Torres called out. Come on, documents say something. Maya moved to the front of the room, acutely aware of every eye on her. I'm not good at speeches, she started. Then keep it short, someone yelled, and the room erupted in laughter. Maya smiled despite her nerves. Okay, short version. 6 months ago, I thought I knew who I was supposed to be. I thought I had left part of myself behind, and that was the right choice. But you all showed me something different. You showed me that being good at something means using it when it matters. That hiding your capabilities doesn't make you better. It just makes you less effective. She paused, gathering her thoughts. I lied to you all for 18 months. Pretended to be less than I was because I was afraid of what I might become if I used those skills again. That was wrong, and I'm sorry for it. But I'm grateful that you gave me a second chance to prove myself, to show you who I really am. Matthew spoke up from his seat. Doc, you saved my life. You saved a lot of our lives. As far as I'm concerned, whatever you did before doesn't matter. What matters is you were there when we needed you. The room murmured agreement. Maya felt the weight she had been carrying start to lift. These men had seen her at her worst, her most deceptive, and had chosen to forgive it. More than forgive. They had chosen to trust her with their lives going forward. Vance stood and raised his bottle. To Petty Officer Okonkwo, the best combat medic and designated marksman in the teams. And to the new program she's going to help us build. The team echoed the toast. Maya felt tears threaten but held them back. She had cried enough over the past 3 years. Tonight was for celebration. The gathering continued for hours. Stories were shared. Lies were told and retold until they became legend. Someone produced a guitar and butchered country songs while others sang along off-key. Maya found herself laughing harder than she had in months. Chun pulled her aside during a lull in the festivities. Can I ask you something? About Kandahar? Maya tensed slightly but nodded. What do you want to know? The kid you hit. The one who survived. Do you know what happened to him? Maya took a drink before answering. I found out later. His name was Ahmad. 15 years old, not 14 like I thought. The round passed through the hostel and caught Ahmad in the shoulder. Shattered his collarbone, but he survived. Last I heard, he was living with relatives in Kabul. Going to school. You kept track of him. I had to know. Had to know if my shot had destroyed a life or just damaged it. Knowing he survived, that he had a future, it helped. Not enough to make me want to keep shooting, but enough that I could sleep sometimes. That's why you became a corpsman, Chin said. Not just to save lives in general, to balance that specific life you almost took. Maya nodded. Seemed like the least I could do. Spend the rest of my career trying to make sure kids like Ahmad get to grow up. Chun put a hand on her shoulder. You've saved more than one kid now. You've saved all of us at various points. I'd say the scales are balanced. Maybe, Maya said, but I'm going to keep working on it anyway. The party wound down around midnight. SEALs drifted off to their quarters in ones and twos until only Maya, Vance, and Chun remained. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only came from shared danger and survival. Command approved the program, Vance said quietly. Combat medic specialist training starts in 3 months at Coronado. You'll be the lead instructor. Help design the curriculum. Train the first class. That's fast, Maya said. They want to move quickly. Get the capability out to more teams. Vance looked at her seriously. This is going to be high profile. People are going to question whether it's necessary. Whether one person can really do both jobs effectively. You're going to have to prove it over and over again. I'm used to having to prove myself. I know, but this time you won't be doing it alone. Chun and I are being assigned as assistant instructors. We'll help build the program with you. Maya looked between them. You're leaving the teams? Temporarily, Chun said. 2-year assignment, then back to operational units. But someone has to make sure you don't teach these new specialists all your bad habits. The three of them laughed, then sat in silence again, processing what came next. New roles, new challenges, new opportunities to make a difference. I need to tell you both something, Maya said. When I took that first shot during the ambush, the one that saved us all, I was terrified. Not of missing, not of dying, but of becoming the person I used to be. The one who measured life in meters and heartbeats and trigger pulls. And now? Vance asked. Now I understand that person never left. She was just waiting for the right reason to come back. And you all gave me that reason. She gestured around the empty room. This team, these missions, the chance to use everything I am to keep people alive. That's worth being afraid for. Vance stood and extended his hand again. Partners in this? Maya shook it. Partners. Chun added his hand to theirs. All in this together. They walked out into the Afghan night. Above them, stars blazed in patterns unchanged since the first humans looked up and wondered what they meant. Maya thought about all the choices that had brought her here. Enlisting, sniper school, Kandahar, walking away, joining the Navy, hiding, revealing, fighting, healing. Every choice had been necessary. Every step had led to this moment. Standing with teammates who knew her completely and valued her anyway. Preparing to teach others what she had learned through pain and doubt and eventual acceptance. The next morning, Maya received official orders. Report to Naval Special Warfare Command, Coronado, California. 3 months to develop curriculum for Combat Medic Specialist Program. Authorization to recruit and train first class of 12 students. She read the orders 3 times, making sure they were real. This was happening. Her role was being formalized, expanded, turned into something that would outlast her individual contribution. Other teams would have the same capability. Other medics would learn to be shooters. Other shooters would learn to heal. Matthews found her reading the orders outside her quarters. Heading stateside? 3 months. Then I'm teaching the program we talked about. Good. You'll be great at it. Matthews adjusted his crutches. I put in a request to be in your first class. You're a SEAL, Maya said. You already know how to shoot. But I don't know how to do what you do. Switch between roles seamlessly. Make the right call in the moment. That's what you're really teaching. Not just skills, but judgment. Maya felt pride swell in her chest. If they approve your request, I'd be honored to have you. The days before departure passed in a blur. Final missions, gear inventories, farewells to teammates who would stay deployed while she returned to the world. Each goodbye carried weight, the knowledge that some of these men she might never see again. War had a way of changing everything. The night before she flew out, Maya made one final walk around the FOB, memorizing the mountains, the guard towers, the smell of dust and diesel and determination. This place had changed her, had given her back something she thought she had lost forever. Chun found her watching the sunset paint the Hindu Kush in gold and purple. Thinking deep thoughts? Thinking about how different everything is from 6 months ago. When I got here, I was hiding. Now I'm leaving to teach people not to make the same mistake. You're leaving as someone who figured out how to be whole. That's no small thing. Maya smiled. No, it's not. They stood together as darkness fell and stars emerged. Tomorrow she would board a transport to Bagram, then a flight to Germany, then finally home to California. But tonight she was still here, still part of this team, still the woman who had learned to carry both healing and violence without being destroyed by either. She thought about the girl from Alabama who had dreamed of being a sniper, about the soldier who had walked away in guilt and grief, about the corpsman who had hidden her true self for fear of what it meant. All of them were her. All of them had been necessary to become who she was now. Petty Officer First Class Maya Okonkwo. Combat Médic Spécialiste. Instructor. Warrior. Healer. Complete. Naval Special Warfare Command in Coronado looked nothing like forward operating base Sharana. Clean buildings. Manicured lawns. The Pacific Ocean stretching blue and infinite beyond the base perimeter. Maya stood outside the training center, a folder of orders in her hand, and felt completely out of place. 3 months had passed since Afghanistan. 3 months of debriefs and medical evaluations and preliminary curriculum development. Now the real work began. In 2 weeks, her first class of students would arrive. 12 combat medics and 12 shooters, all volunteering to learn the other half of her specialty. Petty Officer Okonkwo. Maya turned to see a captain approaching, his uniform crisp and decorated with ribbons that spoke of decades of service. She snapped to attention. Yes, sir. At ease. I'm Captain Reeves, commanding officer of the training command. Welcome to Coronado. Thank you, sir. Reeves gestured toward the building. Let's walk. I want to discuss expectations before your instructors arrive tomorrow. They walked through the facility while Reeves outlined the program structure. 6 months of intensive training. First 3 months focused on medical skills for the shooters. Second 3 months teaching combat marksmanship and tactical thinking to the medics. Maya would oversee both tracks with assistance from Chun and Vance when they arrived. I'll be honest with you, Petty Officer, Reeves said as they entered the main classroom. There's resistance to this program. Some people think it dilutes both specialties. Others question whether anyone can really excel at both. You're going to have to prove them wrong. I understand, sir. Reeves stopped and faced her directly. I'm not one of the skeptics. I've read your after-action reports. Talked to Senior Chief Vance. What you did in Afghanistan wasn't just competent. It was exceptional. The question is whether it's replicable, whether we can train others to do what you do naturally. That's what we're here to find out, Maya said. Indeed. Reeves handed her a tablet. Here's your roster. 12 from each specialty. They're all volunteers, but they're also going to be skeptical. The medics will doubt they can learn to shoot at your level. The shooters will question whether they could develop medical skills that matter. Your job is to make them believe. Maya scrolled through the names and service records. The medics range from Navy corpsmen like herself to Army combat medics to Air Force pararescue. The shooters included SEAL snipers, Marine Scout snipers, and Army Rangers. All experienced, all accomplished in their fields, and all probably wondering why they needed to learn the other specialty. The next day, Chun and Vance arrived. Maya met them at the bachelor quarters where instructors were housed. Chun looked strange out of combat gear, wearing the standard Navy working uniform. Vance seemed smaller somehow, without his tactical vest and weapons. Welcome to paradise, Maya said. Not quite Afghanistan. Thank God for that, Chun replied. I've had enough dust to last a lifetime. They spent the day preparing the training facility, setting up classrooms for medical instruction, arranging the range for shooting drills, creating scenarios that would force students to integrate both skill sets under pressure. Vance pulled Maya aside as they organized medical supplies. You ready for this? Teaching is different from doing. I know, but someone has to do it. Might as well be us. The students arrived on a Monday morning. 24 people, all watching Maya with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism to barely concealed doubt. She stood before them in the classroom, feeling every bit the imposter. Welcome to Combat Medic Specialist Training, she began. I'm Petty Officer First Class Okonkwo, and I'll be your lead instructor for the next 6 months. Some of you are medics learning to shoot. Some of you are shooters learning medicine. All of you are here because you volunteered to become something more than you were. A hand went up. Navy corpsman, according to his uniform. Petty Officer Okonkwo. With respect, I've been a medic for 8 years. Why do I need to learn to shoot? That's not my job. Fair question. Maya pulled up images on the screen behind her. Afghanistan. 3 weeks ago, our assault team was pinned down by enemy overwatch. The medic on scene had to choose between treating casualties and eliminating the threat that was creating more casualties. If that medic had only medical skills, people would have died. Instead, she used both. Everyone came home. The corpsman nodded slowly, but didn't look convinced. Another hand, a Marine Scout sniper. And why do I need medical training? We have corpsmen for that. Do you? Maya asked. What happens when your corpsman is the one hit? What happens when you're separated from medical support and your teammate is bleeding out? You can make the perfect shot, eliminate every threat, but if your brother dies because you can't stop arterial bleeding, did you really do your job? The room fell silent. Maya continued. This program exists because modern combat doesn't respect traditional boundaries. You might be a medic 1 minute and need to be a shooter the next. Or vice versa. The enemy doesn't care about your specialty. They care about destroying you and your team. We're going to make sure you can respond to whatever the situation demands. Over the following weeks, Maya watched the students struggle with unfamiliar skills. The medics who had never fired precision rifles learned breath control and trigger discipline. The shooters who had spent years perfecting violence learned the delicate work of preserving life. Some adapted quickly. Others fought against the learning, convinced they didn't need it. Maya worked with each student individually, drawing on her own journey from sniper to medic and back again. One afternoon, she found the skeptical corpsman, Petty Officer Davis, struggling on the rifle range. His shots were scattered, inconsistent, frustrated. You're fighting the weapon, Maya said, kneeling beside him, trying to force it instead of working with it. I'm a medic, Davis said bitterly, not a killer. The words hit Maya hard. She had said the same thing to herself years ago, had believed it so deeply that she had walked away from everything. Can I tell you something? Maya asked. When I became a corpsman, I thought the same thing. Thought I could separate myself from violence. Be only a healer. But combat doesn't work that way. The skills exist on a spectrum, not in separate boxes. Davis lowered his rifle. How do you reconcile it? Saving life and taking it? You focus on the why, not the what. You're not learning to kill. You're learning to protect. Every shot you take in combat is about keeping your teammates alive. Same as every tourniquet you apply. Different tool, same purpose. Davis considered this, then picked up his rifle and tried again. This time his breathing was calmer. His trigger pulled smoother. The shot hit closer to center. Better, Maya said. Keep that mindset and you'll get there. 6 weeks into the program, Maya designed a culminating exercise. A tactical scenario where students would face casualties and threats simultaneously. They would have to decide in real time whether to shoot or heal or somehow do both. The exercise took place on a mock-up compound similar to the ones Maya had fought in. Students worked in teams of 4, 2 medics and 2 shooters. The scenario began with a casualty needing immediate care, while enemy role players provided harassing fire from elevated positions. Maya watched from the observation tower with Vance and Chun. The first team fumbled badly. The medics froze under fire. The shooters ignored the casualty. Everyone failed, but subsequent teams improved. They learned to communicate, to cover each other, to trust that the medic could take a shot when needed and the shooter could apply a tourniquet in a pinch. By the final team, Maya watched something beautiful happen. Petty Officer Davis provided precision fire while simultaneously talking a shooter through chest seal application. The shooter returned fire while monitoring the casualty's vital signs. They moved as a unit, each person using whatever skill the moment demanded. That's it, Chin said quietly. That's what we're building. The program continued through fall and into winter. Students grew more capable, more confident, more integrated in their skills. The skepticism faded, replaced by understanding and eventually mastery. On the final day of training, the entire class gathered for graduation. Captain Reeves presented certificates and new qualification badges. Combat Médic Spécialiste, a designation that meant something new, something Maya had helped create from her own painful journey. She stood before the graduates one last time. 6 months ago, you arrived here as medics or shooters. Today you leave as both. You carry the knowledge to save lives and the ability to protect them. Use both wisely. Remember that every skill you possess exists to serve one purpose: bringing your teammates home alive. The graduates stood and applauded, not for her specifically, but for what they had become, for the transformation they had undergone, for the capabilities they would carry forward into whatever conflicts awaited them. After the ceremony, Davis approached Maya. He looked different now, more confident, more complete. "Ma'am, I wanted to thank you for showing me that I could be more than I thought I was." "You did the work," Maya said. "I just pointed the direction. Still, you changed my life. I'm heading to a SEAL team next month. Going to put everything you taught us into practice. Make me proud, Davis." "I will." That evening, Maya sat with Chun and Vance overlooking the Pacific. The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of gold and crimson. Another class would begin in 3 weeks. More students to train, more lives to prepare for the impossible choices of combat. "We did it," Chun said. "Built something that matters." "First class," Vance corrected. "We've got 20 more to train before we know if this really works." "It works," Maya said. "I've seen it in their eyes. They understand now. The duality, the integration. They're ready." The sun sank below the horizon, and stars began to emerge. Maya thought about Afghanistan, about the girl from Alabama, about Master Sergeant Kowalski and the promise she had made to herself. She had kept that promise in ways she never expected, had found a path that honored both parts of who she was. And now she was teaching others to walk that same path, to be complete warriors, complete healers, complete. 1 year after that first night in Afghanistan, Maya stood on the rifle range at Coronado watching her 4th class of combat medic specialists qualify on their final shooting test. The sun was warm on her face. The Pacific breeze carried the smell of salt and gunpowder. 24 students worked their weapons with the confidence that came from 6 months of intensive training. She had come a long way from the woman who hid her skills behind a medical bag, from the sniper who walked away in guilt, from the corpsman who thought she could be only one thing. Now she was all of it, integrated and complete, teaching others to find that same wholeness. Senior Chief Vance approached from the observation tower. His promotion had come through 3 months ago, the Navy recognizing his role in developing the program. "Good scores today," he said. "This class is strong." "They are." Maya checked her tablet, reviewing the qualification results. Every student above minimum standard. Half shooting expert. They've worked hard. You've taught them well. Vance paused, then added, "Command wants to expand the program. Train instructors to take it to other bases. You'd oversee the whole thing. Master Chief position." Maya looked at him in surprise. "That's a significant jump. You've earned it. This program works because of you. Your vision, your willingness to share what you learned the hard way. The Navy wants to make sure that continues. I'll need to think about it. Of course, but not too long. They want an answer by end of week." Chun joined them as the students completed their qualification course. He was carrying a folder that Maya recognized as personnel records. "Got someone I want you to meet," he said. They walked to the classroom building where a young woman waited in the hallway. She stood at attention when she saw them approaching. Her uniform said Army. Her eyes said determination. "Petty Officer Okonkwo," Chun said. "This is Specialist Ahmad. She's interested in the program." Maya shook the woman's hand, noting the strength of her grip. "Welcome, Specialist. What brings you to our program?" The young woman smiled. "My brother, actually. He was injured in Afghanistan 3 years ago. Friendly fire incident. A sniper's round that passed through a hostel and hit him. He survived because the unit had a medic who knew what she was doing." Maya felt her heart stop. "Ahmad." The name clicked into place. "Are you telling me? My brother is Ahmad Nazari," the specialist said. "He's alive and in university now because of emergency medical care he received. When he told me about what happened, about the American sniper who tracked him down later to make sure he survived, I knew I wanted to do what she did. Be both things. Protector and healer." Maya struggled to find words. "Your brother, he's doing well? He's studying engineering in Kabul. Wants to rebuild our country. Says he survived for a reason and he's going to make it count." The specialist's eyes were bright. "He told me to find you if I ever got the chance. To tell you thank you. That what you did that day and what you did after mattered more than you know. Tears threatened, but Maya held them back. Tell him I'm glad. That knowing he's okay has meant everything to me. I will. And I'd like to join your program. Learn to be what you are. Someone who can do both. Chun smiled. She's already qualified as a combat medic. Army Ranger School graduate. Just needs the shooting qualification. Then we'll make it happen, Maya said. Welcome to the program, Specialist Ahmad. After the young woman left, Maya sat down heavily in a classroom chair. Vance and Chun sat on either side of her. You okay? Chun asked. I'm better than okay. Maya wiped her eyes. I spent 3 years thinking I had ruined that boy's life. Carrying the guilt. Using it as a reason to walk away from who I was. And now his sister is here wanting to learn from me. Funny how things come full circle, Vance said. You tried to escape your past, and it followed you. But instead of destroying you, it's making you stronger. Making all of us stronger, Maya corrected. This program, these students, it's bigger than my redemption story. It's about giving people the tools to save lives in every way possible. That evening, Maya walked the beach alone. The sun was setting over the Pacific, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. She thought about all the choices that had brought her here. Every mistake, every moment of doubt, every time she had hidden or revealed herself. All of it had been necessary. Her phone buzzed. A message from Matthews, who was deployed with a SEAL team in the Pacific. His unit now had 2 combat medic specialists, both graduates of Maya's program. He sent a photo of them after a successful operation. Everyone home safe, the message read. Your program works, document. You should be proud. Maya smiled and pocketed her phone. Pride was complicated. She was proud of the students, proud of the program, proud that her pain had been transformed into something that saved lives. But more than pride, she felt peace. The war inside herself had finally ended. She was no longer fighting between the healer and the warrior. They existed together now, 2 parts of complete whole, each making the other stronger. She returned to base as night fell. In her office, she pulled out the photo of Master Sergeant Kowalski, the instructor who had believed in her when she was just a girl from Alabama trying to prove herself. She had never told him what happened after Kandahar, never explained why she walked away. Maya composed an email, told him about the past 3 years, about becoming a corpsman, about Afghanistan and the moment she picked up the rifle again, about the program she had built and the students she was training. She ended with the words he had told her years ago. You told me I was exceptional, that I shouldn't let anyone tell me otherwise. I forgot that for a while, but I remember now, and I'm teaching others to remember it too. Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. She hit send and felt another weight lift. The following week, Maya accepted the promotion. Master Chief Petty Officer. Oversight of the Combat Medic Specialist program across all Navy Special Warfare units. She would still teach, but now she would also train the trainers. Spread the program wider. Touch more lives. Vance and Chun threw another small celebration. Just the 3 of them this time, sitting on the beach with cold drinks watching the stars emerge. To new beginnings, Chun said, raising his bottle. To old skills finding new purposes, Vance added. To being complete, Maya finished. They drank and sat in comfortable silence, the kind that came for shared struggle and mutual respect. They had built something together, something that would outlast all of them, a legacy written in the lives saved by students who learned to be more than one thing. Maya's phone buzzed again. Master Sergeant Kowalski had replied to her email. Just 2 sentences. I always knew you'd find your way. Proud doesn't begin to cover what I feel. She showed the message to Vance and Chun. They nodded understanding. Some words carried more weight than others. Some acknowledgments mattered more than medals. A month later, Maya received official notice. The Combat Medic Specialist program was being adopted by all Special Operations Forces. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. Every branch wanted their people trained in the dual specialty. The program Maya had built from her own broken pieces was becoming standard. She stood before a room of senior officers presenting the expansion plan, answered their questions about curriculum and training standards and success metrics. explained how someone could be both healer and warrior without losing excellence in either role. When it was over, a Marine general approached her. "My son was in your first class, Petty Officer Davis. He wrote me after graduation. Said you changed his understanding of what it meant to serve." "I just showed him what was already there," Maya said. "No," the general replied. "You showed him it was okay to be complete. That serving doesn't mean choosing one part of yourself and suppressing the rest. That's a lesson worth spreading." 6 months later, the program graduated its 15th class. Maya watched from the reviewing stand as 180 combat medic specialists received their qualifications. Davis was there, now an instructor himself. Specialist Ahmad was graduating with honors, already assigned to an Army Ranger unit. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence. For all the warriors who had fallen. For all the lives saved and lost. For the complicated reality of military service where healing and fighting existed in constant tension. Then the graduates threw their covers in the air and the celebration began. Maya found a quiet spot away from the noise. Chin found her there, 2 drinks in hand. He passed her one without speaking. They stood together watching the Pacific waves roll endlessly to shore. "You changed the world," Chun said eventually. "Maybe not the whole world, but the world for everyone who goes through this program." "We changed it," Maya corrected. "All of us together." "Fair enough." Chin smiled. "So what's next for you? More teaching? Administration? Retirement to a quiet beach somewhere?" Maya laughed. "I'm 31 years old. Retirement is a long way off." She paused, considering. "I think I'll keep teaching. Keep refining the program. Make sure it stays true to the original purpose. Give people the tools to be complete." Sounds perfect. If you enjoyed this story, drop a comment and let us know your favorite moment, or if you know someone who showed hidden strength when it mattered most. Share your thoughts about people who integrate different parts of themselves to serve something larger. They walked back to the celebration. Maya stopped to talk with graduates, to answer questions from the new students arriving for the next class, to shake hands with officers who wanted to implement the program in their commands. As night fell and the stars emerged over Coronado, Maya stood one last time looking at the Pacific. She thought about the girl from Alabama who loved to shoot, about the soldier who walked away in grief, about the corpsman who hid her true self, about the instructor who found peace in teaching others to be whole. All of them were her. All of them had been necessary steps on the journey to this moment, standing under the same stars that had watched her grow and stumble and finally find her way. Master Chief Petty Officer Maya Okonkwo, combat médic spécialiste, instructor, mentor, warrior, healer, complete. The journey was far from over. New classes would come. New students would struggle and triumph. New challenges would arise. But Maya was ready for all of it, because she finally understood the truth that had eluded her for so long. Strength wasn't choosing between parts of yourself. Strength was integrating all of them into something greater than the sum. Being everything you were capable of being, using every skill to serve the mission, protecting and healing, fighting and saving, being complete. The stars blazed overhead. The ocean rolled eternal. And Maya Okonkwo walked forward into whatever came next, carrying all of herself with pride.